estate here today. 613-789-6559, extension 2803. You can reach us by email. Send us your questions. You can send it to me. I will relay the questions to Colleen Stone. We got to bring up Colleen here because we are talking real estate. So great to see you, Colleen.
So great to see you, Rosie. Always a pleasure.
Always such a pleasure. Colleen, I wanted to talk because, the real estate market in this city, in the surrounding areas is so very hot, and it can be a little bit confusing for those who are buying or selling. We come to you because we need some answers. I want to talk first off here about open houses because things are starting to open up more, right? We've got a lot of the mask mandates are being lifted, and I'm wondering about that approach to selling your home now without having the mask mandate. What are some of the first things that a seller should do to prepare for an open house?
So that's a great question, and we have been really excited about the fact that open houses are now being allowed. And the first question that I get asked all the time is, do open houses really actually sell your home? And my answer is, if they are done well, if they are done properly, absolutely. There are people out there who are going to open houses and being serious about looking. I myself hosted my very first open house last Sunday for the first time in 2 years. It was amazing. So where we are at right now, we are still waiting with now literally, just days from having the anti-mask. There are questions that the sellers have. So when you are doing an open house, first and foremost, some sellers are still not comfortable with having, when you do an open house properly, you should have 4 to 20 people through your home. So some sellers are not comfortable with that. Another issue that we have is the conversation vaccinated or not vaccinated. So what we are still doing right now that I'm hearing from my other colleagues, and until we get mandated by our Ottawa Real Estate Board, we are still doing touchless sign-in sheet. So just like a restaurant that we were signing in simply with a QR code because a lot of people, and let us go back to that, you were signing in with a QR code not to stalk you, not to grab your information and inundate you with emails. It is simply in the fact that people need to understand the realtor who is in the open house, who is hosting that open house, is actually responsible for everything in that house. So for security reasons only, we just want to make sure who is going through there. As for getting ready for an open house, all we ask is hopefully your realtor is offered staging and everything else, have everything clean. Open houses run from Sunday 2 to 4 right now in Ottawa. And we just make sure that everyone does proper social distancing. A lot of times right now, we're just letting one family in at a time. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Discussion, Colleen. We're talking about open house etiquette. And why don't we talk about what's expected of the buyer who goes to an open house, especially in this day and age. Things are finally starting to open up a bit. The mask mandates have been lifted in most, not all, but most indoor settings. And it's really up to the owner, if you will, business owner or homeowner, if they will allow people in with or without masks. Let's talk about the etiquette.
So you bring up a really good point. Right now, what we are seeing is definitely a transition. Thank goodness we can do open houses again and allow people to move and view homes. Yet there are certain aspects of it that are mandated by either the owner or by the real estate board. Right now, the real estate board, because masks have been lifted, we are waiting for the Ottawa Real Estate Board to decide if masks are mandatory or not. In certain cases, definitely the seller, and I have one coming up next week where we may do an open house, but the seller absolutely is saying I'm not comfortable with people coming into the home without masks. And buyers need to understand you are in someone else's home, and that is their right. It is not something that can or cannot be negotiated. It's just you are in someone else's home, and if they choose to have you wear a mask, absolutely. So that is definitely the etiquette. Obviously, as well, when you are walking into an open house, we do need to know who you are. As I mentioned in the previous segment, it's not about realtors wanting your information to send you endless emails and stalking you. It is not about that. And I want to end that kind of headspace. It's the fact that when you go into someone else's home, we are responsible for everything and all possessions and security of that home. So we're simply asking, when a buyer walks into a home for an open house, that you sign in. And there are two options if the open house is done properly. You can do touchless with a QR code, or if you don't happen to have a cell phone or you're not comfortable with that technology, we are okay with that. If you're okay with just signing in like I call it the old-fashioned way, then yet you do have to sign in, because again, it's about security and properly secured, because there are times and there have been stories where during an open house, people actually do have things go missing. And so you have to understand that it is a security issue. It is nothing else, nothing more than just simply security.
Now, Colleen, I would understand the seller's point of view, wanting to protect his or her property as they're selling it. But what about the buyer who wants to really understand and know the house? How do you do that? I mean, would it be acceptable to maybe open a closet door, to open a drawer, just to see if things work? How much hands-on can be activated when you're going in for an open house? What's acceptable?
I love that question, actually. Thank you for asking that, Rosie. So right now, we are, and again, we're waiting for legislation to come out of the Ottawa Real Estate Board. Yet right now, the way that we've been showing homes is the fact that we are leaving closet doors open during open houses. We are leaving doors open so that there is minimal touching. Obviously, we are still sanitizing when you walk in and walk out. So we are leaving doors open. Now, when it comes to the kitchen, I actually have walked into a home where all the kitchen doors are actually open. It's very busy looking, obviously, to have all your kitchen doors open, yet and again, it's up to the buyer, the seller, and the realtor. What we often are seeing is the fact that if there is a special walk-in pantry, let's say in the kitchen, we're leaving that door open so that it is touchless. And so we're taking, yet if you sanitize in and out, and you've got the Lysol spray for each and every time, we are doing every precaution to protect both the buyer and both the seller.
73599 and the website trinitystonerealty.com. Colleen, we're going to just wrap up this conversation here, and we're talking about open house. And as you mentioned earlier, the real estate board's coming together. They'll convene and have some new information surrounding open house and the protocol. When do you think that information will come through? Is that within the next few weeks, or is that further down the road this year?
No, I expect it actually, Rosie, in the next couple of days. The Ottawa Real Estate Board is very proactive with their members, and they guide us as to the protocols that we need to follow, every kind of months. They also come out with like our stats, and where we are in the market. We are very knee deep into a spring market right now, where supply is still very, very low. If anyone is thinking about selling, please sell now because we do not have any inventory whatsoever, and there are a lot of buyers out there right now. So we just wait for. We all have the one thing about working with a realtor is the fact that we are held to a higher standard than someone who is not registered in under the board. And so and I've said it many times before in the years that we've worked together, is the fact that an Ottawa real estate agent, an Ottawa realtor, is held by the board standard, and that means that we are registered under the board and held by a higher standard than someone who's not registered. And so we are there to protect our buyers. We are there to protect our sellers. We do not, unfortunately, control the market, and I'll go on record right now, allowing me to say, realtors do not like this market. We do not like this market.
Why not? Why not?
Because we do not like this market because we would love to see more of a balanced market. We hear the frustration of buyers where the fact that they write, 3, 4, 5 offers before they even find the home. And the multiple bidding war is very stressing for both the buyer and also the realtor. And the fact that I use the term the cringe factor, Mark. What does this house mean to you? And when it comes to sellers, becoming that market education where it's being realistic, because now sellers are saying, well, my house is now worth 500 more than what it was. So when we look, our job is to educate both buyers and sellers and do it properly. We know that the average townhome right now went from 2 years ago was about 500,000 to now it's worth 650. And so that can push a lot of buyers out of the market. And what's really interesting, I'm having a lot of conversations with parents like myself where we are helping our sons, our daughters, our children to help them get into the market, because a lot of new home buyers are getting pushed out. And so we hope that things calm down. This is simply a market correction. I don't think we're going to see a huge drop unless something in the political and international world changes, which hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully everything calms down. We are all concerned about what's going on overseas. Yet we are here to protect you. And I think that's really important that the audience hears that, and the fact that realtors are there to help you and protect you. And I think the key word is protect.
Yeah. It's always great having a conversation with you, Colleen Lyle, about real estate, ever interesting topic. And that concludes our Ask the Expert segment for today. And you can reach out and contact Colleen Lyle there at Trinity Stone Realty, 613-417-3599. Thank you so much, Colleen, for that.